This is another quick way to get started in a project. If I go to the Insert tab and I pick on Images and I find a scanned image of the building that I'm interested in, I can place that into my project. I'm dropping it into that space and I can see it. Now the actual square grids that are shown on the floor here are 6 feet in size. So you'll see that I don't know in advance what size my image is going to be. If I were to say in the Architecture tab, if I were to draw what's called a model line, and I was to say let's go from this location in that direction, you see it's what I'm doing is just checking to see if my image is horizontal. It looks actually pretty good, but you see the distances don't necessarily make sense. In other words, I know from there to there is 6 feet, but it shows as being about 18 feet. So what I want to do, I want to select the image, I want to pick on the scale command, and I want to give it as big a distance as I can from the model. So when I click on here to say about there, it says 105, but if I count my squares 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I actually know that's 36 feet. So after I've given it the second point, I then type in 36. That's the size that I want those 2 points in the image to measure as. And I hit enter and it makes my building smaller, the image smaller I should say, it makes the building life size. So now if I was to say let's measure, so if I go modify, measure, if I was to try picking on points on here, you can see that my grid is approximately 6 feet. And it's never going to be 100%. And if you needed to adjust your image because maybe it wasn't quite horizontal, you could use the rotate command and then apply whatever rotation angle you want. Suppose I rotate that by 1 degree just to turn it a little bit, but I'll Control Z to go back. But that's the kind of correction that you can make. So if I've got it approximately the right size now, and I'm putting it in the middle of that drafting area, and then the last thing I want to do here is I want to pin it so I don't accidentally move it. Right? So by picking it and clicking on the push pin, I can either pin it or unpin it. Now, but pinned, it means I can't accidentally drag it from that location to someplace else. Now I can start to draw on top of the model itself. So suppose I know that these are walls of a particular thickness. I'm just going to draw around here just to give you an idea of how this is going to work. Let me take some of the walls that are these are balcony walls, I think, on the outside patio of the building here. And if I look at them, if I was to say measure, I'm just going to guess that these are, well, these look like they're about 8 inches. So if I go architecture, wall, basic wall, generic, 8 inch, but what I want to do is I want to be placing the interior face, and what I'm trying to do here is draw really on top of this. Oh, I got wall center line, that's what's going on. So let me pick that again. Wall 8 inch, but I'm placing the interior face. That's the back of the seating, so up to there's my inside, my walls on top of this, and I'm placing that in my project. Now I'd done one thing that I need to explain. I'd switched off the display from being hidden, which it normally is, to being wireframe, which is what's letting me like see through the wall, so that when I get to other locations that have, say, windows in them, I'll be able to look through the wall in order to see where I can place my windows. So more typically when you start, you're going to have this set as hidden. I'm going to come in and draw that wall over this side, so I'm going to say draw wall, finish face interior. If I clicked, say, on here, and then I'm going to draw up the way a bit and place it on top of there. I'm going to go to this corner and coming in this way. What I was trying to say was that if I were to want to place windows on this wall, so let me change the display to be wireframe, then I can be seeing through the wall, so that when I go and pick a window, if I zoom in on here, this is a 36-inch wide window, and that's big, right? So if I place it on my wall there, let me flip back to hidden line. You'll see the window's big, and I know from just looking at the drawing that it's more like, well, let me measure it just so I've got a better idea. If I go to wireframe and I go distance between, say, there and there, I can see they're really just about one foot. Right, they're very small openings on in the wall. So if I want a 1 foot window, I'm just again going to use the one that's there and show you how to change it. It's not the right style, but it's the way to adjust it. So if I was to pick a window and say I pick a style for my window, edit type, and then I have to click duplicate or else I'm changing the existing style that I'm editing. So I say duplicate, I call it 12 inches by 48, and then I change the width to be 1 foot instead of 3. There it is in my project. So now what I've got, I didn't mean to flip that over, let me flip it back. Now what I've got, if I flip to where it's shown as wireframe, I can position that in my wall. And then let me show you something that I haven't shown in class. If I select the window, so if I pick the window and I hold Control and Shift and I drag, it's actually making a copy, and I can place it, and I can continue to hold Control and Shift and drag. Let me get a little bit closer to the here. So I'm over there, Control Shift, and it's selected, and I'm dragging and it's making a copy. And one more time. Right, so if I looked at this in 3D, let me double click to fit it. What I did was put in those windows on the floor plan itself. If you wanted to hide it in the view, unlike a drawing that's controlled by VG, if you pick the graphic and you come down to the spectacles, you could say hide the element, meaning hide the graphic that's in here, and when you need to get it back, you can right click and say reset to show it back in the model again. But that would be another way of working quickly on a project using an image as a background.